Coronation Street audiences were originally full of compassion for Todd Grimshaw. When he first crossed paths with Theo, the newcomer appeared kind and well-meaning, even if he carried a troubled past. However, it didn't take long for warning signs to emerge. Theo became possessive, resenting anyone Todd cared about, and deliberately attempted to isolate him from loved ones such as Billy Mayhew, George Shuttleworth, and Summer Spellman. Theo's psychological control over Todd involved constant put-downs, mocking his looks, eating habits and fitness, and dictating his everyday routine. Before long, the emotional cruelty escalated into physical violence. Following one especially brutal attack, Todd's battered body was noticed by Billy Mayhew at Debbie Webster's wedding. No longer able or willing to protect Theo, Todd finally confided in Billy about the abuse, and Billy vowed to help him get away. For a brief moment, Todd felt hopeful, but just as Billy was preparing to drive them off in the minibus, Theo suddenly appeared. With no choice but to continue their journey, Todd at least had comfort in knowing Billy was now on his side. That hope was shattered when the minibus was caught in the devastating traffic collision during the special Corriedale episode on January 5th, when Corrie and Emmerdale collided. As flames threatened the vehicle, everyone escaped except Billy. Theo returned to the minibus just as Billy managed to undo his seatbelt and was about to get free, only for Theo to fasten it again and abandon Billy moments before the fatal explosion. To everyone else, it appears that Theo did everything he could to save Billy, yet privately he is tormented by guilt. On the surface, he continues to manipulate Todd, attempting to shift the blame by insisting the crash would never have happened if Todd hadn't wanted to leave the wedding early. Behind closed doors, however, Theo is falling apart. In upcoming scenes, he seeks guidance from the bishop, who reassures him that he isn't responsible and encourages him to speak to God. Later, when he finds himself alone at the undertaker's, Theo chooses to speak not to God, but to Billy. Standing by the coffin, he apologizes for leaving him to die. The confession is heartfelt and meant to be private, but the sound of a door slamming alerts Theo that someone else may have heard him. It seems only a matter of time before the truth comes out. At the same time, someone else is carrying their own burden of guilt over Billy's death. Debbie Webster was in the car that caused the crash, driven by her brother, or as viewers recently learned, her son, Carl Webster, Jonathan Howard. Debbie is adamant about accepting responsibility for the accident after Carl placed her in the driver's seat while she was unconscious. Wanting to help Todd in some way, she offers to contribute £3,000 towards Billy's funeral, saying it's the least she can do. Although well-intentioned, the gesture deeply upsets Todd, who is already emotionally shattered by Billy's death and Theo's relentless attempts to make him feel at fault. When Theo notices Todd becoming distressed, he storms over and lashes out at Debbie. Debbie herself is extremely vulnerable, struggling not only with dementia, but also with the likelihood of a prison sentence after pleading guilty to causing the crash. Theo's aggressive outburst leaves her frightened and shaken. Carl steps in to defend her, not just out of concern, but also because he has his own secrets to protect and cannot risk Debbie revealing anything that could expose him. As Billy's funeral draws closer, guilt and hidden truths weigh heavily on many lives. With emotions running high, the question remains, can all these secrets really stay buried? Coronation Street villain Carl Webster sets his sights on a vulnerable local in ITVX episode. It's astonishing to think Carl Webster has been part of Coronation Street for just 9 months. In that short time, the newcomer has already left a huge trail of chaos behind him, and there's little sign he's about to change his ways. After wrecking his brother Kevin's marriage to Abby, Carl went on to start another affair, this time with James Bailey. The secret relationship was exposed just before his sister Debbie's wedding, prompting Abby to seek revenge and derail Carl's plan to escape to Germany. Having stolen thousands from the Chariot Square Hotel, Carl was on the brink of vanishing when his car became caught in a massive multi-vehicle crash. Facing the prospect of a drink-driving conviction, he dragged Debbie's unconscious body into the driver's seat and allowed her to believe she was responsible for the death of neighbor Billy Mayhew. It later emerged that Debbie's reluctance to challenge the situation stemmed from fear that her biggest secret would come to light, that Carl is actually her son, not her brother. Now shunned by much of the community, the future looks bleak for the troubled Webster and Weatherfield. That said, in today's episode, Carl launches into a fresh flirtation, this time with newcomer Jody Ramsey. Shona Platt's sister first appeared during the Corriedale disaster, having escaped what appeared to be a hostage ordeal orchestrated by Graham Foster. Since then, Jody has settled in with the Platts, who remain unaware of how she became involved in the collision earlier this month. Earlier this week, she even repeated a domestic abuse survivor story word for word to Shona, who seemed to accept it without question. Why Jody is lying, or why she appears determined to undermine Shona's good name, remains a mystery. Since moving into number 8, Jody has largely spent her days sprawled on the sofa, seemingly afraid of crossing paths with Graham or Kit Green, who is keen to uncover exactly who or what she was fleeing from. Eventually persuaded to leave the house, Jody headed to the cafe and offered a helping hand, while Nina Lucas went to the wholesaler. Watching from a distance, Carl took his chance, striking up conversation with her at the bistro and instantly finding common ground, until Abby walked in. Abby was stunned to see Carl getting close to Jody and quickly warned her to stay away from him. Elsewhere, at the hospital, Shona told her husband David that she planned to track down her father in the hope of discovering what lies behind Jody's troubled behavior. Could this be a clean slate for Carl, or is he already plotting his next move with Jody? Coronation Street and Emmerdale hit with another schedule shakeup, and fans won't be pleased. Soap viewers are facing more frustration as Coronation Street and Emmerdale are about to be moved again. The popular ITV dramas have already suffered several breaks recently due to live sports coverage, and it looks like that disruption is set to continue. In the week beginning Monday the 2nd of February, both soaps will be pulled from schedules on 2 separate evenings. Episodes due to air on Tuesday the 3rd of February will not be shown because ITV1 will instead broadcast the Carabao Cup clash between Arsenal and Chelsea, starting at 7:30 p.m. The disruption doesn't stop there. Thursday 5th of February will also see both soaps missing from screens, as ITV1 airs the Six Nations rugby match between France and Ireland from 7:20 p.m. To make matters worse for fans, there will be no catch-up episodes on alternative nights. This means the recently introduced Power Hour format will be interrupted, with no extra episodes scheduled to compensate for the gap. The revised timetable only launched earlier this month, with Coronation Street and Emmerdale each airing for 30 minutes between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m., 5 nights a week. As a result, both shows have already lost half an hour of airtime per week compared to their former 6-episode schedule. Explaining the reasoning behind the changes, ITV's Managing Director of Media and Entertainment, Kevin Ligo, said the decision reflects evolving viewing habits. Describing the move as viewer-led, he explained that ITV wants to deliver soaps in a format that's easier for audiences to consume. With so much competition for viewers' time and attention, and as viewing habits continue to shift, we believe this number of episodes works best for fans to stay up to date, he said. He also noted that research suggests soap audiences now favor faster-paced storytelling. According to Ligo, shorter, streaming-friendly episodes allow for tighter plots, stronger payoffs, and clearer resolutions that better meet modern viewer expectations. Coronation Street currently airs on weeknights at 8:30 p.m. on ITV1 and is also available to stream on ITVX.